Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and we welcome you to Kentucky Newsmakers. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Later, we'll learn about the Building Institute of Central Kentucky. It says that good-paying jobs and opportunities are waiting now for people who want to gain some skills. That's coming up later. But first, you've probably seen our extensive coverage of the horrible jail overcrowding problem in Madison County and the major tax increase approved by the fiscal court this week to try to address it. Madison County's problem is unique in some ways because it is growing so fast, but many communities across Kentucky face the same issue with the state and local counties holding so many prisoners and inmates right now. In Madison County, the search for answers has included criminal justice reform, trying to find treatment for people jailed because of drug addiction, and transferring the overflow of inmates to other counties. After all of that, the jail is so overcrowded that Richmond Mayor Robert Blythe called it a humanity issue. Blythe and other city leaders offered up an old armory building as part of a solution. They're going to look at that. Judge Executive Reagan Taylor has found challenges everywhere he's turned with this issue. Finally, this week, the court passed that tax increase that may now find its way to the ballot next year. And as you know, it is very controversial, Judge. Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Glad to be here, Bill. Appreciate you having me.
For those who followed this story and for those who are now tuning in, how has Madison County ended up with nearly 600 inmates and a jail for 185 or so?
Bill, it would be my opinion that it goes back many years. It goes back to some of the former conversations that we've had here on this Newsmakers show. It goes back to us not paying attention, I think, as leaders, as governments, from trends and things getting out of control. The drug epidemic obviously is a huge factor in this. I've talked many times about the percentages of people incarcerated that it's drug related, the recidivism rates. I think past bills have been passed at the state level that have tried to help, but really I don't think that they've ended up helping.
And so at this time you find yourself in this tremendous overcrowding issue. I mean, as to why so many are in jail and why Madison County has such an issue, is it the growth in the county, or is it those trends that you cite?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, I think us being on I-75, us being so centrally located between Michigan and Florida, I think that our growth is part of that. I think that we took, many years ago, we took a focus off of prevention amongst young people. I think that's all coming back now because of the spot we're in. You know, the drug addicts today, the people that struggle mentally, prevention is not necessarily going to work for them now. You know, they need intervention. I think there's not a big enough focus on the intervention. Prevention is being proactive, intervention is being reactive.
You wanted to do what you called a healing center, a hybrid jail and treatment campus, because you said that so many are there because of drug addictions and issues. The court at that time seemed to be on the verge of rejecting it, and you dropped it. And now you find yourself in this position.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily go as far as the court, rejected it, as much as I think that the community was rejecting it, which was putting pressure on our members of fiscal court. We heard back then that we needed to build a jail. That was a little over a year ago. That was the biggest issue, that taxpayers didn't seem that they wanted to pay for a treatment facility, for tax dollars going towards that. It doesn't work. You hear a lot of these things that may be good ideas, maybe be true, maybe not be true, maybe be speculation. We know that we have to do something. The state mandates us to be responsible for paying for the jail and incarcerating the people in Madison County. Statute makes us do that. It doesn't give us any options to say, no, we're not doing that today or tomorrow, we're not accepting this person or that person. We have to do it. And so, again, we have to be proactive in knowing what we see in the future. There's going to be a financial burden on the county.
And so here you are, and this substantial tax rate increase was passed by the fiscal court. And as you know, there's tremendous pushback. There's talk of a petition calling for an election. And many are predicting that if an election is held, that would go down in defeat. Where does that leave you?
So it puts myself and the fiscal court and the magistrates in a bad spot. We're put on notice now of how bad a shape the jail is, the situation inside, the overcrowding, the people sleeping on mats. We've been put on notice, which makes us liable. We've got to bring awareness to the situation, and we've got to be able to come up with a solution to it so that we're not personally out there on the hook.
Judge, do you visit the jail yourself?
Absolutely, yeah.
And what are your thoughts?
It's overcrowded. A lot of people think they've got it easy. I would encourage anybody that thinks it's easy in there to come by and take a visit. I know that our jailer, Steve Tussey, has offered many times for people to come look. But again, that we have rules that we have to follow inside. The state sets the rules of what the temperature should be. They set the rules of the calories that we have to that you have to provide for meals. They set all of our standards. They do inspections of how we have to operate the facility. So, it's not like we as the local elected officials get to choose how things go.
If you have to make this decision, as you said, or be personally liable potentially, and have to make the jail such a high priority, what would you have to cut to do that?
Well, there's a lot of services that we provide in the county that aren't mandated. And so those services will be the ones that we would have to prioritize to see which ones that we feel like are the best ones to go first. For me to just write off and answer which ones would go first, we haven't gotten that far.
You're not required, though, to have a fire department.
That's correct.
But you do, right?
We're not required to have a fire department. We're not required to have the parks department, the golf course.
And yet, if you were to cut the fire department, insurance rates would go up, right?
Yes, I would assume that they would, and I think a lot of it depends on the rules of the different agencies or the rules of the different insurance providers. I think they all have different rules. I think some it would, some it might not.
What options do you have for money other than this large property tax increase?
The three main ones that we can do is our property tax, insurance premium tax, which we don't have, or we could do occupational tax. We already do occupational tax, but counties are capped at 1%. So we can't go up on occupational tax because statute, again, the rules that are made by the legislature have capped us at 1%.
And the insurance tax is already being paid in the cities of Richmond and Berea, right? Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't be subject to that, or would you add it on top?
No, you can't stack. And so the only way that we could get any funding out of the cities would be to be higher than their rate.
No restaurant tax is an option,
mm-hmm. I think counties can do hotel tax, but I think most hotel taxes have to go towards tourism as well. And obviously, being a Madison County and yourself, that there's no hotels in the county.
Richmond Mayor Robert Blythe said emphatically that the cities don't have an obligation on this jail issue, and you concede that this is a county responsibility. But he also calls it a matter of humanity based on what he has seen. They have offered up this armory option that you potentially could lease very inexpensively. You're looking into that.
We are. We actually
an old armory building.
It is. It's an old armory building. It's about a block away from the jail. It was used for a park and recreation building for a long time for the city of Richmond. They moved out of it several years ago, and they've offered us to lease it to us for $1. Obviously, we would have to do those renovations. We actually have a meeting today at 11 o'clock with Department of Corrections to see if it is a viable solution that could help us in the future.
Obviously, this program goes to many who a lot of lawmakers watch and others. What would you say to the legislature in terms of what your needs may be at the county level that you would like to see them address in the upcoming session?
Yeah, I mean, we have to have, in my opinion, criminal justice reform. Counties continue to get passed down mandates or unfunded mandates, and it is putting a true burden with this drug epidemic at the local level. The process to get through the court system, the process to get turned over from a county inmate, so to say, to a state inmate is a very long length of time. And I would encourage the legislature to really put a focus in on this drug epidemic, the judicial process, bail reform, jail reform, criminal justice reform in general, to help us be able to be able to make it on the local level. If that's not going to happen, give us some more tools in our toolbox that we can use to be able to combat this at the local level.
And do you mean options for raising revenue other than having to do a property tax jump like you've proposed?
That, yes, and also this process that we're going through right now is the process that's laid out by KRS. And I don't have options as far as phasing it in, right? It would be great if this court could have said, hey, Madison Countyans, we need this much money to be able to build a new facility, pay for the operational expenses, but we want to phase it in over 4 years. Instead of it being this big lump sum all at once, to be able to ease into it. But we don't even have that option.
We're with Madison County Judge Executive Reagan Taylor. We're coming back in just a moment. A little bit later, a lot of trade jobs available out there, and there's a new institute that is helping train folks for those. We're coming back on Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. Welcome back to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We are visiting with Reagan Taylor, the County Judge Executive in fast-growing Madison County, and talking about a lot of issues, including this tax increase that they have put in to attempt to build a new jail because of the horrible overcrowding issue over there. Did you envision when you ran for Judge Executive, I mean, you were a home builder, you had ideas you thought for the county and the growth and development going on over there, that a jail would be the focus of your term in office?
Well, I knew that the jail was an issue when I ran. I didn't realize it was such a big issue when I ran. The biggest issue when I ran was being efficient, was being smart with taxpayer dollars. You know, our jail was refinanced in 2012 for over $3 million, and it was 22 years old, and none of those funds were ever put back into the detention center.
How do you move forward with I mean, this tax will not go up tomorrow, and it won't, and it will. You can't collect it with this year's property taxes because, as you know, there is an active effort out there to repeal it. So you really can't move forward. The action taken by the court this week isn't getting you anywhere with that issue.
Right, and this process is the democratic process that has been set out by the legislature. Right. You know, we vote on it, tax. If we pass that increase, it allows for this recall. If they get the signatures that they need, then it would go on the ballot. A lot of people, a lot of our citizens, I feel like, speculate a little bit that, well, this elected body is not doing what they want done, and that's a little false. The legislature allows this process for us to do what they want done.
What is it that anybody's saying to you that's unreasonable, though, that they might say change your priorities with spending or whatever in the
Well, for me, it's more of they're not listening to us. You know, it's the comments on social media that, you know, these guys aren't doing. The only one that did what we wanted was the no vote, and I think a lot of it is just educating people of what the process actually is. I mean, this has been set out. We didn't create this process. If they get the signatures, then it would go on the ballot in November of 2020.
If this weren't hanging over, if this weren't the major issue consuming a lot of your time and energy at this point, Judge, Madison County is growing. More people than ever want to call it home. Mm-hmm. What would be your top priority right now?
Jobs. I mean, we continue to work to try to promote Madison County, to work from an economic development standpoint of bringing opportunity and jobs in. You know, we're trying this because we know the financial burden this is putting on the county, and if we don't do something, that it's going to take away from other things that we do provide services for in our county right now that are marketing tools to attract to business, to make our community look good, to want to grow our population and to bring opportunities here.
I want to thank you for coming by. We really do appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you. And I know you've got some big decisions ahead, and this issue is certainly not going away. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Hope you'll stay with us. We're coming back in just a moment. Todd Johnson will join us from the Building Institute of Central Kentucky. We'll talk about how employers are looking hard for workers with certain skills. Kentucky Newsmakers will continue in a moment. And we welcome you back to Kentucky Newsmakers from WKYT. A lot of skilled tradespeople were driven out of the building industry when the housing market crashed a decade or so ago. Now people are moving ahead again with remodeling projects or building new homes, and there is a shortage of skilled workers to do those jobs. You probably know that if you tried to get somebody. The pay for those jobs may surprise you, and there is now a workforce development program that is up and running to get people ready for the opportunities in that. Todd Johnson of the Building Industry Association of Central Kentucky is here to tell us about that, and we appreciate you coming in very much.
Thanks for having us.
Let's talk about where we got here with the improved economy. There's now a waiting line for anybody who wants to get any kind of project done, and it's because of lack of workers, right?
That's a huge part of it. As you said earlier, during the downturn, we had so many people that left the industry to find other work. In other recessions that had been, long up until this past one, workers would find something to do and then come back when the economy improved. But this one was so long that many of them didn't return. The other problem we have facing the skilled trades in the state of Kentucky is that so many of our license holders who are company owners are aging out, and there's not a lot of succession plans in place. So, our biggest loss of companies right now from our membership are people that are getting to that retirement age and closing up their business and nobody there to take it over as well.
Do young people out there, high schoolers and so forth, the young adults, do they think of this as an option?
You know what? They really haven't until we've started getting in the schools since 2014 when we started the Building Institute. Everything is so college driven still at the high school level in terms of that being your option. As we've seen over the past few years, the college debt crisis has hit us, and so many kids have gone to school and the jobs just haven't been there to pay and they're saddled with that debt afterwards. That's certainly not the case with what we've got going on at our school.
It used to be that some would go to work out of school and then out of high school and then decide, I'm going to go to college because this work is tough. Now you're kind of seeing a little bit of the opposite, right? In that in some cases they're going to college, maybe acquiring that debt, saying it's not for them, and going to what can be a lucrative situation. Right?
That's right. Our students come to us, most of them some of them are right out of high school. Most of them have been out of high school for a little while and figured out that it's time for them to get moving on, getting their life more stable and advancement opportunities in a career. We have several that have come back that have gone to college and found out that it wasn't for them and decided to go a different route. And all of our students have been, well, not 100%, but I mean in the 90% range, I would say, of all of our graduates since 2014 are still in the trades. Still working and advancing themselves through that career path.
And some may be surprised to know the pay scale out there for some of these trades.
Right. Well, as a student coming into our school, what we see is most of our students are coming to us from typically minimum wage jobs. Most of them are making almost double that starting as a student with us whenever they get hired by an HVAC company or a plumbing company or something like that when they start out. And by the time they leave our school, if they've got their journeyman's license, they're making in the mid-40s easily just starting out right out of school with practically no debt. If they manage their money properly coming through our school, they should be able to graduate with money in their pocket, no debt.
So certainly life-changing.
Absolutely.
What are the skilled areas that are in big demand right now?
Well, plumbing, HVAC, electric, carpentry, all of those areas are in demand. But it seems like what our employers are wanting are they're wanting more of the soft skills, and we, through our school and through their company and on the job, are training for those hard skills that they will need to do the job. And it's believe it or not, it's tough today, Bill, to find people that will come to work, get their paycheck, and come back and do it again the next week. We really suffer in today's job force with folks with that work ethic to come to work regularly on time and things like that. And we teach that to our students. We had a conversation this past week, the director of our school, Bruce Maybrower, and I did with a student just about, if you're at work, if you're on a job, how many days do you think you should be able to miss in your first 30 days of work? The answer is none.
Right.
And a lot of the, especially the young kids that are coming into this, don't understand that as a requirement. That you gotta show up.
Do you think they see how much teamwork there really is involved? Because that could be fun too, to be a part of a team. And you watch these crews. I mean,
right.
They depend on each other.
They absolutely do. All of our students, especially in the licensed trade, plumbing, electric, and HVAC, have a lead that they work with whenever they first start out with a company. And it is all about that two-man team, and then the aspect of where the plumbing part of it fits into the electrical parts as these subcontractors get into a construction project, and how the scheduling and timing and working together to make sure the other subs following them are on time and not to be there too late to trip over one another when they're on the job site is a real learning experience as well.
So what is the training like? How long does it take to get to some of these certifications? Well,
I'm real excited to tell you about our electrical program, because there was a state statute a couple of years ago that changed, and we just got approved to take electrical from a 4-year program to a 2-year program. Keep in mind that you don't have to go to our school to be a licensed trade person, but in electricity, for example, it used to be you could work for an electric company for 6 years and you'd be qualified to set for your journeyman's license. The state statute knocked that down to 4 years, but going to our school, we can accelerate that by another full 2 years to get your journeyman's license, or be prepared to get your journeyman's license with the state of Kentucky. Plumbing and HVAC are 2-year programs, but we just got approved this year where we can accelerate that even further. If a student wants to go 4 nights a week rather than our typical 2 nights a week, they can get that done in 1 school year to be qualified for their journeyman's license in plumbing and HVAC.
And by its very nature, I would take it that training is very hands-on.
It is very hands-on. We in the licensed trades at the school, we'll spend probably 50% of the time in the classroom going over the theory stuff, and going through the code books and the manuals for HVAC, plumbing, and electric. And that's really getting them prepped for the test on the back end side of things. They'll be working, typically the majority of our students are working while they're in school. And then we'll spend another 50% of real hands-on work in our laboratories within the school.
You don't guarantee placement, but the jobs are really, really in demand right now.
They really are in demand. We are not a job placement service, but through our association, the Building Industry Association, we have 700 companies that are involved in the industry every day. So we've got a real close working relationship with company owners, and typically getting a student placed has not been a problem. Like I said, over 90% of our students are working while they're in school, and those that aren't, some of them just don't want to at this time.
I want to circle back around to this soft skills issue just a little bit. And you talked about the showing up on time and not missing work and that kind of thing. But also, I mean, people are, this is people that are on their property or in their homes or so forth. So they have to be trustworthy as well. Is that part of what you emphasize?
Absolutely, and the companies really emphasize that as well. Customer service, interaction with a customer is just as important as any skill you have working on whatever system it is you're working on in a house from a service perspective. Whenever you show up at a house, typically it's the lady of the house that will answer the door if you're there for a service call. That person, whoever answers the door, has to be comfortable with what you look like, the way you're dressed, the way you approach yourself, the way you communicate, and things like that. we really instill that in our students as well as our company owners do as well and their employees.
You have classes that are enrolling now, right? I mean,
We do.
You have some that just got started this
Yes.
week or so.
Yeah, we started the first week of September, right after Labor Day. We hit the ground running, but it's not too late. We brought 4 students in this week, and we have probably another week window. If anybody is interested that's listening, we can still get them in and enrolled and get them caught up to get their full year seat hours accomplished by April.
And how should they contact you?
Probably to find out about us, just Google Building Institute of Central Kentucky. We'll be right there on the top of the search, and go to our website. We've got information there and videos. If you want information directly from a person, call our director, Bruce Maybrier. His cell phone number is 229-6641, and he will answer the phone and be glad to talk to you and answer any questions.
Todd, do you see this trend continuing in terms of the employment opportunities and people continuing to build and remodel and so forth?
As long as the economy holds out, the industry is going to be doing well. Absolutely, everything's economy driven. But yes, in terms of jobs, even on the service side, and not talking about new construction building with the economy and the new projects coming on, just on the service side, Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that for Central Kentucky and all across America, really, we've got strong job growth predictions in these skilled trades for years to come. And like I said, not only are the workers not there today that are coming into industry to fill the need that has grown, we've got a back drip. I guess the hole in the bottom of the bucket, again, are these folks that are aging out, that are getting ready to retire, that are company owners, and not a lot of succession plans in place. So there's a great opportunity in just a few years to own your own business.
Todd Johnson, thanks for coming. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having us.
Hope you'll stay with us, and we thank you for joining us for WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We'll see you bright and early this week on WKYT This Morning. You make it a good week ahead.